All right, man, peace. So, one of the things I really enjoy on my free time when I'm watching YouTube is that I like watching this whole entire interaction piece that they've been doing for years, actually. But they have a lot of these political commentators that'll go to these college campuses and debate the students or whoever wants to have a challenge when it comes to certain topics that revolve around things. I mean, popular these days is about DEI and about gender roles and all these different things. I mean, recently I started seeing guys like Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit have a debate, and a lot of these women did not have no good rebuttals, nor did the men have any good rebuttals about the conversation when it comes to gender and about, men's roles in society, in which a lot of them don't agree with. And back it used to be Louder with Crowder or whatever his name is, the Canadian dude. He used to have a series on there, and I remember it was one episode that he did it where there was a so-called trans woman, I guess that was black, and was just making threats, ad hominem attacks, even to the point that they threw a water bottle at Crowder because of what he was saying. And all he was doing is sitting up there saying, "This is what I believe gender is. This is what I know gender is." So today, we're going to be taking a look at Charlie Kirk's take on things as he is going to be debating with this internet troll. I'll give you the link to his video afterwards, where he's going to be debating about DEI. And it goes back into my theory about why that's that black fatigue shit that I be talking about. Because later on down in the video, he's going to try to relate a topic that is not related based on race. It's actually based on gender, but he tries to conflate gender and race as two of the same things to put it together. And the reason why I make this video is because too many times black people insert themselves in conversations that doesn't have anything to do with them. I mean, yeah, we can go off of gender. There are black women that exist, obviously, and things that happens, but it's more so on a feminist angle, and it's more so talking about equality on that type of forefront more than it is talking about black people being on a forefront. And too many times, when you have the liberal black people, more specifically the liberal black man, too many times he's trying to add everybody else's problems into his own and then trying to say, because of history back in the 1960s and before then, you know, our people had to go through the struggle and my struggle, my struggle, my struggle. And the thing that I don't personally like is when black people try to get everybody else to be in our shit. Mainly what I'm saying is, like, let's say it's a conversation about feminism and it's about women's rights. They'll start making about, well, black people had to struggle and women had to struggle, so their struggle is our struggle. And I sit back and I say, no, it's not. Just because us as black people struggle in society doesn't mean it was the same exact struggle as feminism. And because it's June, they'll also try to entangle the LGBTQ community in it, then by trying to make a basis statement by saying, well, there are gay black people. Gay black people always existed. And nobody's saying that they don't exist. We obviously know that they do exist. But the problem in that conversation is if you're more of a pro black person, you care about pro black issues. What you're trying to do is have pro black issues plus LGBTQ issues plus women's issues. We're just talking about black people. So enough talking. We're going to check out this video with Charlie Kirk. Pete.
Mr. Simple, you've said some very nasty things about me online, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Simple question, Simple Black Theory. What do you think about blind hiring? Are you for blind hiring?
No.
No. So why not? Because blind hiring, for those you don't know, is based on merit, where you don't
it's
look.
not.
So what's blind hiring?
Blind hiring would be that you do not put the race actually when you submit for, actually you don't even see the person when you interview them for a job.
No. That's one part of blind hiring. There's
Okay,
multiple
so-
ways to do blind hiring, but at the
But blind hiring would be based on the fact of the matter, like you're not caring for anything about that person really. Like it's all just about the skill sets and the things that they have. So already this guy is already starting off with this whole entire "I'm gonna get you" type of rhetoric, and it's like it's not even necessary. Like, bro, calm the fuck down.
The end of the day, blind hiring is exactly not knowing the person's race, age, or gender. That's based on merit. Like you said, you want merit, correct?
Well, hold on. Those things can factor into merit as well. For example, if I'm trying to hire for an Amazon warehouse worker, and all of a sudden I find out that they're at 69 with 1 year left from retirement and the age is not disclosed, wouldn't I prefer to have a 24-year-old man than a 69-year-old woman who's overweight?
You're moving the goalposts. Let's bring it back here.
No, I'm
the
not.
whole point was about blind hiring.
No,
right?
you said race, sex, and age
Right.
is not incorporated.
Correct.
I think you should have a full picture of a human being is when you hire them.
So you care about diversity.
No, actually, I don't.
Why? Because that's basically merit. You're focusing solely on merit. You said you want
No.
meritocracy.
Just to be clear, if diversity happens naturally through meritocracy, great. If all of a sudden we have
That's
people
DEI.
that, well, no, it's not. DEI is by force.
So let me
DEI,
explain that.
No.
Go ahead.
I got to interject.
Go ahead.
DEI is that we
First of all, never trust a nigga with a pink phone case. I don't care what you say. Anytime you see a dude with a pink phone case, more than likely he's going to bore you to death about liberalism and talking about equality, rights, and specifically this brother, I can already tell he wants to be loud and be combative and then prove to the whole world as a black person, as a black man who stands for black rights, black women and all these different things on a college campus. I can already tell the temperature of this guy. Listen, brothers specifically, stay the fuck away from liberal men like this because they are gonna get on your nerve, and more than likely you're gonna want to smack the shit out of this dude as soon as he starts talking all this liberalism crap, especially about DEI, and then trying to relate women's issues into black struggles and all this nonsense. Don't do it.
are going to forcibly make an institution more colorful.
Right.
We're going to forcibly make an institution more black. Where if all of a sudden, if half of Texas A&M was black because it was all on merit, praise God, that's an amazing thing. It doesn't matter. If all of a sudden, for example, if the NBA is 75% black because it's on merit, great, terrific. If the NFL is half black because on merit, we don't want to force race. We want excellence and meritocracy over race in every possible circumstance.
Right, yeah, my turn. Okay, so let's get into the NBA, for instance, right? Can we both agree at one point black people weren't allowed into the NBA? And then they allowed
That's
them
true.
to be in the NBA? Wouldn't that be considered diversity? Wouldn't that be DEI in itself?
No. It's actually the opposite. You see, you're
How
mistaken,
so?
my friend. It's actually, we're getting rid of any racial stereotyping. What happened was actually a form. No, DEI is racial stereotyping.
So
what actually was before was a form of white preference DEI, which is white supremacy or whatever. And then we got rid of it. We said, we're not going to discriminate it. And the quality of play got better. Do you guys see the difference between the two? You see, it's very important. Well, no, actually, I'm talking to both you and the crowd, right? I'm talking to both.
And this is the problem. We're getting at the whole entire thing about the NBA and about a lot of racial stereotyping they had in a lot of major sports before they decided to say, black people should be able to play. And in many different teams that were started up by black people themselves before the NBA decided to say, hey, we're going to allow black people to play basketball, black men to play basketball. And brothers are getting into the whole conversation about the WNBA, but I'm not about to get into that. I mean, yes, obviously that happened, but this is the thing that I want y'all to pay attention to. This is an essential thing. This is a golden rule. This is a golden standard that I'm setting here today when I have this conversation. A lot of these people, and a lot of y'all might do it too. I always say there's a difference between hearing and listening. When it's coming to a debate, too many times people get into this whole entire thing of wanting to hear themselves talk. They'll hear the other person talk, but they're not listening to what that person is saying. They want to be able to have their points because it's all wrapped up in their head and they got to get it out. They got to get it out. They got to get it out. It starts to become this whole entire tunnel vision of, I want my statement to matter. Whatever you said, okay, cool. I only took about maybe 25% of what I heard you say. I'm going to rebuttal that, but I'm still going to get my thought across. This is why it never helps in a debate to be like that. because it wind up just becoming a fight and becoming one of these type of things where one person becomes arrogant, the other person is trying to be receptive, and we're not going to get anywhere if you're not going to try to listen to what that person is saying. You feel me?
Okay.
Right? So what ended up what you want is you actually want to bring back a form of how Major League Baseball and the NBA used to work before we desegregated.
So we can agree that Executive Order 11246 is what basically brought in DEI, correct?
I'm not. I think that might be it.
Right.
Is that the affirmative action
So
one? I don't know.
No, it's not the affirmative action. It's for DEI. So within that executive order, where does it say that they're solely focused on making people get into jobs? For instance, like United Airlines.
Well, for context, the executive order of 111246 mainly is talking about the order that was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson back in 1965 that was talking about prohibiting discrimination in employment by race, color, religion, sex, etc., and stuff like that. They're not allowed to do that. But then back in January of this year, Donald Trump revoked it, rescinded it, and basically saying that it's an unfair practice and that he's trying to go with the whole entire thing of merit, meritocracy, if I'm saying the word correctly, in which that all jobs or companies, therefore, should be able to hire people based on skill and what they offer to the company instead of race, religion, and all those other things is basically what he's getting at. So when he says DEI, basically that bill being signed is a form of DEI in practice because companies should be allowing the chance for people to work regardless of race, gender, religion, and all these different things. But in my opinion, and especially if you get the chance to take time to see it, there's YouTube videos where they admit that when it comes to the dark world of certain places where people work at, that they do discriminate against certain people, namely black people, on certain job titles and won't allow those people to work there because it's some high level stuff and they don't want black people to be the representation of that title. You can view it at any time. There's still some racist practices that they do that's some undercut shit, but they wrap it in something else. So anybody who's wishing for this utopia of the executive order, if Donald Trump never rescinded it, in which they sat there and said that we definitely want to hire people not based on race, religion, and all these different things, and when you hire people on merits only and the skills that they have, there's still going to be companies that do stereotype against you by race, religion, sex, so on and so forth, but they package it as something else. So never believe that it's all about merit and all that other stuff. It's not. Sometimes, a lot of the times, it's not. They just say that you can't have this position and come up with some bullshit excuse about why you're not fit for the position.
Right? You mentioned that, well, let's pause that. I'm going to get to here. So, for an example of DEI is basically your daughter, right? She decides to get a job, right? And unfortunately, it's that time of the month. She goes into the bathroom. Calm down, calm down, calm down. She goes into the bathroom. Stop. She's going into the bathroom.
You're losing the audience, man.
I don't care. I'm talking to you. So she goes into the bathroom, right? And she goes into the bathroom and gets a tampon or a pad that's been given from the job. That is DEI. That is literally, yes. Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck is this dude talking about? Is DEI because the company is giving the woman a tampon when it works in the office, bro? I tell you, I recently, if y'all paid attention to my YouTube page, I recently did a video, my YouTube and my Rumble page. I recently did a video where I had to tell you about a lot of the times, specifically these black men that's realmed in liberalism. They say the most dumbest shit ever because they think that they're so goddamn smart. And my thing about it is, how is that a form of DEI? The companies know that women have menstrual cycles. So every month they need the products they need in order to handle that situation. How would that be a form of DEI, sir? I'm just curious. Then what would you say for the men's have? So if it's equality on men, then they should just randomly have condoms inside the company office. I mean, I don't understand how this brother is using that as a way of saying that a company offering a woman tampons is a form of DEI. I just don't understand how that relates. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. That's great. So if you don't know, DEI. Interrupt me so he can win. Go ahead. You want to do that, right? Or be quiet and we can talk. Thank you.
That's the loss right there. You're already saying be quiet so he can win. This is the again, this is the problem with these people that come to these debate series. They're so wanting to get their emotions and get their feelings off. And at the same time, he's not making a point. DEI, when it comes to a woman and stuff like that, is literally trying to hire someone because they're a woman, they're a female. When they do all these different things of trying to, look good for the press, these different things that companies do in order to make it seem like they're not, they're trying to get more funding and trying to get more, equity, or trying to get, more sponsors or whatever it is. They'll take these practices of saying, hey, we hired more black people, we hired more Indians, we hired more this, we hired more that, we hired more women. There's a woman that has a managerial position here and stuff like that to prove that their company is doing well. They're allowing others to basically take that branch of that company. Not some random practice of a company giving a woman tampons when it's her time of the month. That's not a practice of DEI, sir. It's not a practice.
So, right. Can I continue? Thank you. So, my thing is dead. All right, so, yes, because in Executive Order 11246, they say that DEI is focusing on a safer environment and a more equitable environment within the workplace and the hiring process. Let's look at Google. Google actually does DEI. You know how they do DEI? Give me an example of, do you know Google's DEI? I'm pretty sure you
Google's DEI by giving random women tampons when it's their time of the month. Is that a great practice? And letting your dumbass come into the goddamn debate by having black nail polish on your hands? The fuck out of here, dude.
And they shouldn't, of course not. In
What is
fact,
their DEI initiative?
I actually don't know the specifics because I don't know every company's specifics.
I got
However, let me ask you a question. When you're hiring somebody, would you rather hire someone that's black or someone that there is excellent?
So, that's what we're talking about. That's not what DEI is.
Actually, it is. So let me.
That literally is what DEI is. Hiring someone because they're black in order to increase the idea that they have a representation of different nationalities in the company, as opposed to what their skill is. And sometimes you do have these companies that just want to be able to prove that they have different races that's represented in their company. So the thing about it is, I actually agree with companies taking more of an approach of hiring someone based on skill, not on race. Let's just say a tech company, for example. If it's a person that went through the whole entire training, took these Google certificate classes and all these different things, they went through it, they did it for 3 to 6 months, and they're qualified because they've already practiced, they already did certain things. And you have a company that's worldwide known and all these different things, and they're not trying to appear like they don't give other nationalities a hard time. Like, they allow people of different races or whatever. And if that black man is qualified over the white man or whoever else, because he has the certifications, he's proven that, he has his portfolio, he has everything in backing to prove he's a suitable candidate for that company, he should be allowed in. And I'm not saying because he's black, even though I do want black men to win secretly, you understand that? But at the same time, I would say he should be hired for the company over someone else because he has the skills to prove it. So this brother already getting off on the wrong foot, sitting up there saying that's not DEI. And again, this brother is just so bothersome and he's so angst on trying to make a point and he looks stupid.
Let me prove it to you. As I said, according to the Student for Fair Admission Supreme Court case, black students were able to get into Harvard with
affirmative action, not DEI.
Affirmative action. Time out. Time out. Time out.
And affirmative action is a part of DEI. I mean, it's like, look, this is my whole entire thing. DEI is a relatively new term. They were not using that term back in 1965. You can look at the executive order of 11246. They were not using that as a term back then. Yes, in the 1960s, it was civil rights movement and all these different things. It was being fought for equality, equity, and all these different things out in society. Yes, that did happen. But at the same time, when we're talking about DEI, he's like just throwing jabs like, well, that's DEI. That's DEI. That's not DEI. Affirmative action is a part of DEI. It's a DEI practice. That's literally what it is. So, affirmative action, which, I've understood it firsthand when I went to school. Most of the people who had benefited from affirmative action, they might have thought was black people, but it actually was white women that was getting more of affirmative action than it was black people in general. From my personal experience.
Time out. You're getting too worked up here, man. Okay? Time out. Affirmative action is DEI in practice. You see, DEI is a theory.
Wasn't it struck down by Supreme Court?
Yes, and they still ignore it.
So why are you bringing it up?
Because they're still ignoring it, my friend.
So let's focus on my question I asked you.
Hold on. Let's get back to the core macro tenet, which I think is very important.
Correct.
Which is, wouldn't you prefer a country built on excellence and merit, not one based on forced pigmentation diversity? Why does somebody's skin color matter? No, tell me, what differences do you as a black man and me as a white man have, and why does it matter?
Okay, so
why does it matter?
So let's look at, because again, you don't understand what DEI is, and you're trying to put it into one stance.
No, nigga, you don't understand what DEI is. The whole entire time you're sitting up there, you just made a statement saying affirmative action ain't DEI. And then when there's certain examples that's being brought up about DEI, you says, you don't know what you're talking about. You sound dumb. You sound stupid. Like, again, why do these dudes waste their breath? Because they want to sound smart. They want to be able to say, I've done so much research and I'm better than you. And it's just like, you being in your fifis is not going to help the case at all, my friend. It's just going to make you look like a complete jackass. And everybody that's on campus and what you can see in the background, which is a majority of white people, is looking at this Negro like this Negro really out here just doing the most. You know what I mean? Like, just doing the most with your fucking black painted nails.
Which is not. So, thank you.
The battle between good and evil.
We gonna skip the ad, y'all.
Order 11246, correct? So
I have an idea of what President Trump signed, correct? But because he got rid of that executive order.
Right. And in that executive order, it says literally, y'all can Google it too. It says that DEI focuses on both the workplace and hiring.
Oh, got it. So does it focus on diversity?
Now let me explain the
Does
DEI
it have the word
initiative.
diversity?
Yes, but
we should not have any forced diversity. Period. End of story.
It's not forced diversity. It does not say forced diversity, and I'll put money on that too.
Does it say diversity?
It says diversity. Yes.
Well, then it's forced diversity.
But it's not forced diversity.
Then what is it? It's a suggestion.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm lying. Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
But it has the word diversity.
Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
Hold on, let me get this straight.
It still says diversity at the end of the day. He's trying to say, it's not making a point. It's still diversity. Forced diversity is still a practice, but at the end of the day, diversity is still in there. If that's what's being told, that's what's in there. That's part of what DEI means. Diversity, inclusion, exclusion, inclusion. I forgot the whole thing. Y'all can blame me for it, whatever. But at the same time, like, this brother is trying to go ahead and ring on the point to be specific with words. And it's just like I told you in another video. A lot of the times, these liberal black men in particular want to be able to play semantics with words to make it seem as if their opponent is not making a stretched out point that is a confirmation bias for them. So basically, by Donald Trump rescinding the executive order that was January 21st of this year, 11246, it doesn't say forced diversity, so your point is mute. That's basically what this brother is doing right now.
Executive order with the word diversity.
Can I give you an example of DI initiative? Let me give you an example of DI initiative so you have a better understanding. So let's look at Google, right? Google's one of the hardest companies to actually get into. In fact, I believe there's a 0.2% chance that you actually get the job, right? They actually run a DI initiative. Their DI initiative is called a hiring committee, where they have a diverse group of people that have been working.
Awful.
How? So you're telling me Google sucks?
Google actually is, honestly.
So y'all using Bing. Y'all using Bing.
Honestly, ChatGPT's way better than Google recently. I don't know about you guys. No, but honestly, to your point though, Google has lost its competitive edge in a lot of ways the last 10 years. Hold on a second. Again, Google does.
There's many programs that Google has tried to use to compete with other companies that was already using like certain things that they put out there, and it failed miserably. I mean, they've tried certain AI initiatives and it just fucking sucked. I just say like Google, don't try it because it's not for you. I mean, they've tried different things like even doing streaming services off of Google. Like you know how like here, like on YouTube, you'll see like StreamYard or you'll see like Zoom and all these different things. Google tried to sit up there and start something with that, and it failed. I mean, they still have certain things out there. I think it's something called like Google Teams or something like that. But there's been many programs that they tried to start up and tried to use to compete with other competitors, and it just was not flying. Just saying.
A lot right, but hold on. Google has lost the social media war. Google tried to launch a Facebook competitor, an Instagram competitor, failed. They tried to also launch a Zoom
Let's
and Skype
focus
competitor.
on the conversation.
Failed.
That has no proof
Google's
that was
market
DI.
cap, Google's market cap, otherwise known as Alphabet, has actually missed expectations over the last 2 years versus Netflix, Amazon, and Apple and Microsoft. In fact, there was a prediction 10 years ago that Google would be the first $3 trillion company.
Right.
Turns out that it was actually Microsoft that was the first $3 trillion company. Now, of course, Alphabet is a very good company in a lot of different ways, but if your argument right now is like, well, because one of the biggest companies on the planet has embraced a bad idea, what is your argument exactly?
They're still one of the best companies in the world.
Not because of that, because they were built by merit and it's being destroyed by diversity.
And they use DEI to get that merit. Listen, if they're hiring people, yes, it makes sense. If you're doing a hiring process and you have a hiring committee that is DEI and they're hiring the people that's making the company as great as we just said, your argument is that DEI takes away merit.
It does.
But if we see that Google is doing well and they're using DEI, how the hell are you saying that DEI is not making merit?
First of all, Google has not had this hiring committee around since its inception.
They have. Not since its inception, but they had it for a while.
Secondly,
and the people in the committee are people who's been there for a while, which is very diverse.
Secondly, you have not answered this fundamental question, though.
Go ahead.
Which is, can you tell me when an organization gets forcibly more diverse, it gets better?
Google.
Again, I just proved to you, Google is...
Google.
Okay.
I just gave you Google.
Again.
They use DEI. Not only are they one of the best companies. Oh, yeah, I hate that argument. Great.
Yeah, you peep out this dude is in his fifis. Let's just continue.
I mean, again, it's just, they're fine. I'm not going to, like, totally kind of crap on Google. But, like, more importantly and more broadly, I do think you have to answer the question,
So I can't...
why does skin color matter at all in hiring? Answer that question. Why does skin color matter?
So... if we look at basketball, because you love talking about that, right? Can we both agree that at one point there was no black athletes, and then what happened? They diversified.
We got rid of forced segregation, which is a form of DEI.
And that diversified the basketball,
because
right?
it was based on merit.
Was it diversified?
Yes, but not by force. No, hold on a second.
Very much.
Hold on, but if your argument is that if you want to make things more merit-based, then let's do it.
It is more merit-based.
Hold on a second.
They made it diversifying. They diversified basketball, bringing black people who are good in it.
Nothing you're saying.
Diverse.
Nothing you're saying is making any sense.
Oh, okay, I bet.
He's not making any sense when he's saying what he's saying. I mean, obviously, we all agree that there was segregation practices when it came to a lot of these leagues when they started up, especially when it came to basketball. And when it came to different sports leagues, we can go over the merit about baseball, you know, Jackie Robinson and a couple of other brothers that was out there that had, you know, that had different teams back then. And now these days you had like famous baseball players. I know we're talking about basketball, but you had baseball players that was black, basketball players that was black that first started off and stuff like that. And basketball coming a long way from the 1900s. I mean, even hockey, which is still not even a black dominated sport, but you have black athletes that are hockey players. Soccer, you already know you have a lot of black people that's involved in soccer overseas. Still not a black dominated sports, but the point that I'm making is that what is there to argument about? It was about segregation at first, and America was like, you know what? Let's not segregate Negroes from the sports league. Let's allow them to play basketball. We understand what their strength is. We know that they could help us win the game and make more money for our organization. Let's allow them to play basketball. And I mean, honestly, it had to come at that point, you know, to get rid of color barriers and all this other stuff. And I mean, famously known, like maybe like the 1940s, 1950s, a lot of things started to come to heads. And that's what made America pretty much great at that point. And so we're talking about DEI. Basically, there's nothing this dude is saying that is arguing against Charlie Kirk. We're all agreeing on the same thing. So my argument is in this is people should be hired for merit-based control, right? There, it shouldn't be one of those sort of things where they're still practicing some type of segregation tactics, and a lot of them won't tell you that they don't allow certain people of certain races, namely black people, in certain positions because they are black. Now, I would hope that there's a swift police base or some regulations to make sure that each and every company in America is not doing that racist shit that's under the rug, because they'll never tell you. They'll mop it up as something else, or they'll try to sweep it under the rug or use different types of languages in order to say we didn't want to hire this person because they're black. You know what I'm saying? But they'll say it as something else. And that's the whole point that I think. I'm just want to get to the whole entire thing. Like, if we're going to have it be a meritocracy around in America, let it be for all companies and make sure that if this person didn't get hired, you know damn well within your heart that you did it because they just aren't qualified. You understand what I'm saying?
Because what they did
Of course
is
you don't.
the NBA went to pure merit, pure excellence. Are you good at this? That's all they cared about. In the
They allowed black people in, right?
Exactly, because prior.
Okay, then.
Hold on. Because you know what?
What the fuck is this dude talking about? They allowed black people to play basketball. Before that, black men were not to play in the sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wasn't allowed to play in the sport. Once they got in the sport, and I just want to say this just because I'm a low key sneakerhead too. They was able to put Chuck Taylors on the map. Certain people don't even know that's how Converse started to get big. It started from basketball. And especially in the 1920s, they had the whole entire deal, and they started putting, they had a whole basketball team that was back in the 1920s where they started wearing Converse, and Converse was the sneaker of choice up until maybe about the 1970s, 1980s. I'd even beg the question with that, where Converse was the main playing sneaker of choice when it came to the NBA. But what was that for? Because they started seeing black men that were strong in ball when it came to the whole thing about basketball to be playing in it. But that's just me. That's me derailing a little bit. But at the same time, this brother is really not saying anything different. Yeah, they stopped using segregation tactics and allow black men to play the sport. And now you see a majority of black men on NBA teams than you see white men on NBA teams. I don't even think I see Indians, for that matter, or barely even Asians that play in the NBA. Not a large amount, that is.
What they had prior was a form of racial stereotyping. And you want more racial stereotyping. Your worldview is indecipherable from the KKK.
So enough.
What you want, it's indecipherable because you are race obsessed. I am not race obsessed.
No, you are,
talk
though.
about the race.
You
talk
are,
about race
though.
more than the Grand Wizard of
Right.
the KKK.
Right.
Because
I'm
you.
the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Well, think about it. I said your worldview.
That you're like, and this is the problem with dudes that just, like, again, this is why I say you need to listen and stop hearing. See, there's always those fundamental things that I always tell people on YouTube and in my real life. Too many times you're too triggered to want to hear your point and want to be able to get and express what you got to get out. This whole entire time, this man is basically saying the same thing Charlie Kirk is saying, but in a different way. We agree. The NBA definitely did stereotype against black men when it came to the sport. Nowadays, when it comes to the NBA, anybody is allowed to play in the NBA. It's just the fact of the matter, you got to meet a height requirement. It is what it is. If you a short dude, I'm not saying you can't play in the NBA. You can, because there's been basketball players that's been 5'3", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", whatever. I'm not gonna say that the NBA discriminates against height either, but usually NBA players by average is over 6 feet tall. And with that being said, you also have, and this is how you know DEI does work. You have the WNBA, women playing basketball. So we've come a long way when it came to the whole entire NBA organization. But at the same time, it does seem like the merits with the liberal so-called black man stands so obsessed with having a conversation about race. And if it's that much of a big deal to you, start your own league, start your own series, start your own organization where it's just black men playing basketball. And if you want it to be DEI, how do you envision it be DEI? Because in my opinion, hearing this brother talk, this brother is all about proving to the white man us black men can get it too. You've already won the battle in the NBA, my guy. It's a black dominated sport. Mostly black men play on NBA teams. So what is the argument about? They stopped the stereotyping a long, long time ago. DEI does exist because it's not only just black men playing basketball and white men. You have Asian men that play basketball, Africans that play basketball, Indians that play basketball, all those different things. They're on the NBA team. So again, what is this brother arguing? He's not making any conclusive points. He's not driving home anything. He's just trying to prove I'm gonna get you, white man. And this is the problem with these liberal ass black men. Stop it.
You think about it,
Yeah.
because you're around talking about race all the time. I'm talking about character. Which of
You
us?
talk about race all the time. You literally said DEI is based on race when it's not.
Because
It's
I'm
DEIA
explaining.
with accessibility.
DEI is based on race, religion, sex. Like race is a part of DEI. I mean, and I've heard recently, especially this year, about how many people have talked about DEI ever since there's been the whole entire thing with the election about Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and a lot of people was talking about Jasmine Crockett and about how Jasmine Crockett is giving it to the white people, being a state representative or being involved in the politics of Texas and all these other things before the people, the political affiliations of America. She admitted that she is a DEI hire. Now, a lot of people escape that, and I really want to know what that brother's opinion is because she's a literal DEI hire. She sat there and said on national television that she got hired because she's black. Run it back. I'm not lying about it. This is an example of this is a black woman who admitted she's a DEI hire. So, my thing about it is if she fucks up when it comes to how she's dealing with things from her state of Texas, and she's been very rude to the governor, by the way, sitting up there making fun of him because he's a paraplegic. If she didn't really have the backings or the grounds to be where she is in the position that she's at, you have to blame the person who hired her just because she's a black woman. I feel like if you're not qualified, I can't speak on it because I don't live in Texas. If you're not qualified to be where you at as a black woman, then you shouldn't be there. But if she's doing her thing, then she's doing her thing.
Man, you're getting really upset.
My bad,
You
you're
should
right,
take
because
a
you keep
pause.
lying. For instance, right? I've been trying to say this. DI, one part of DI is literally giving women tampons or pads at work. Oh, yeah, you're laughing because you don't know that.
Giving
Listen,
women
Charlie-
tampons is a form of DEI.
Yes, it is. You know why? Let me explain. Yeah, y'all know. I got you. I'm about to explain to you guys. So basically what happens is, the reason why we have DEI is the fact that in a job location, right, they want to hire more people of diverse. So what these initiatives, these goals, these aspirations that they're doing is trying to bring more people in. For instance, like if, what's that store? Trader Joe's, right? They let people sit down while they they bring stuff in. They help disability. That's DI. That helps disabled people get a job at Trader Joe's. But what you're telling me is,
What the fuck does that have to do with you just making an argument about DEI and about how companies give tampons to women as a form of DEI? How does that correlate with paraplegics, disabled people being able to get a job at Trader Joe's? I mean, yes, it is true. They don't want to discriminate against people because of their condition and stuff like that. Like a lot of companies do that anyway. I mean, I don't know what laws or executive orders to really go on that, but I understand that when it comes to certain things, and especially me being from the city I'm from, there's a lot of opportunities of people regardless of what they are. Even these days, there was a lot of controversial things that happened in New York City where the practice of DEI wasn't even a thing because they wouldn't allow, let's say for instance, trans people to have a job. And they would say that trans people should identify by their birth gender, not by what they say that they are. You understand what I'm saying? That could have been an argument he could have made, but what is the big deal about him talking about tampons and saying that this a form of DEI to let women have tampons at the job? I think that at the end of the day, it's just about sanitary practices and allowing women to take care of their needs if it needs to be met. I mean, that's just a regular purpose. You go into a bathroom, I'm usually sure that they have tampons for women. That's not a form of DEI. It's just the fact of the matter. It's a sanitary issue. That's nothing to do with DEI. This guy sounds like a moron. Like, I mean, the brother is just all over the place. And I just really want to say he needs a goddamn tampon. Because this motherfucker seems like he's on a 14-day cycle right now. It's crazy.
That we are not allowed to tell people that for like onboarding in itself is also DEI. When they explain to you sexual harassment, when they do all these things, when they make it
Onboarding is not a form of DEI. Onboarding is just a regulation of understanding what you're getting into once you get hired into the company. That is not a form of DEI, my friend. Like this guy is dumb.
more a safer place, that is DEI. And what you're saying is that the
Safer place is just to inform you that you don't have anything to worry about in this company, or the regulations that's stated within the document you sign is letting you know what to be prepared for, what to understand, how we protect you on the workforce, how you are protected, what you can do, what you cannot do, and all these different things on there once you sign the document when it comes to onboarding. That is not a practice of DEI. It's not.
the workplace shouldn't be safe. What you're saying is that more companies should have discrimination lawsuits.
Let's get back
That's
to
what DEI
let's
stops.
get back
Discrimination lawsuits.
DEI is racial quotas. End of story.
Give me one racial
United
quota. Give me one.
Airlines.
I googled that.
So
go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh,
I
you
googled it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So
go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
what did United Airlines announce? Because you know what I said about black pilots. What did they announce when it came to pilots? And why should skin color matter when you board an airplane?
So just remind everybody, is Charlie Kirk's idea. He basically, stop talking. So Charlie Kirk basically.
Ooh, that's very massage. That's not very DEI of you.
All right, let me finish cooking. So, right.
You ain't cooking shit but burnt rice, bro. Like the fuck? You cooking yourself, fam.
So, can I finish? So, Charlie Kirk said that they're basically hiring women of color to make 40 or 50%, right? But when you actually look into it, what happens is
women and people of color.
Right, women and people of color. What happens is they're creating a program that's allowing women to train and become pilots. If you actually look at the requirements for these programs, it's nothing different than any other program that trains pilots. But you told people that they're just hiring women when that's not true.
First of all, I never.
So when it comes to the whole entire thing about pilots, and especially women pilots, is it a form of DEI that they're able to get definite tampons once they get hired on a job, once they sign that onboarding document? Like, I need to know.
Yes, you did. I did a video on it, guy.
Yes, I know what I said. Secondly, when you hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising the standards of excellence.
They're not hiring based on race.
Allow me to finish without interrupting.
All right, go ahead.
When you hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising excellence to be able to pursue race. We know this with Harvard, University of California. We know this with major companies. We know this with the government. Exactly. DEI, that is affirmative action is DEI philosophy in practice.
Struck down already. You're bringing OG.
Allow me to finish my statement. They are actively defying the Supreme Court decision, or they are contorting their policies to try to fit their own DEI agenda. But let me.
And it's also, besides the agenda, just trying to meet quotas to up their gain on the company stakes. In my opinion, maybe I'm saying something wrong. Maybe I'm saying something right. But the whole entire thing is it's very crucial that it's about skill, especially when it comes to pilots. Because you don't want to just because that person took flight school and they have a pilot license, it has to be a credible source that they got it from in order to pick up that license. Now, let's say it comes to, I'm going to a different country on a plane. I'm not going to care for race when it comes to who's flying the plane. I'm going to care that they know what they're doing. They've been instructed. They've been thoroughly tested. They've been thoroughly trained in order to safely fly me from the airport that I came from to the airport that I'm going to. Same thing with how it is in New York City or places around the country. An Uber driver, you trust that they're going to be able to drive you from point A to point B. They have a driver's license to prove it. They have a TLC license to prove so. They have a D-class license, whatever it's called, as a commercial driver to be able to drive a person from A to B. Same thing with a bus driver. I don't give a damn if they're a man or a woman. If they can get me from point A to point B on a bus, then cool. I don't, when it comes to the subway, I don't give a damn if it's a man or woman driving a train. I just care the fact of the matter, they know exactly what they're doing. And that they're not going to crash into a train just because they're not paying attention, or they're going to be a fucking idiot that sit up there and do some dumb shit like look on their phone while they're driving a train. Look up the incident that happened, I believe, in 2008, about in Boston, a young man who crashed a Boston trolley into another trolley because he was looking on his phone. Obviously, that's not about DEI, but just the fact of the matter, those careless mistakes can cost people their life. So, in talking about pilots, it's mainly given to the fact that, okay, this is a black woman. Let's just say it is. It's a black woman that's driving, I mean, that's flying this plane. I trust that she knows what she's doing. I don't want to see thousands of likes on Instagram and these different things out there, or TikTok or YouTube, and they be like, well, I'm the black woman that did it. I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot. And you don't know how to drive a plane. Like, you've never drove a plane in your life. Like, you've done the pilot school. You sat there and got your license and all that other stuff, but you haven't been thoroughly trained, right? And I'm talking about if you've been in the career for like a couple of years now, but you never really had your first commercial flight doing the whole entire thing with the plane. Like, that's what I mean. I mean, obviously, if you just got your pilot license, I'm proud of you. Great. Awesome. But it's mainly about in practice. Are you seasoned versus are you not seasoned? If you're not seasoned and they just hired you as a DEI, that's a problem for me. That is a problem for me.
Ask you a question. If you were to board a United Airlines,
I didn't get the finish. Go ahead.
If you were to board a flight with United Airlines, would you rather have a pilot that is qualified or one that is diverse? Answer the question.
Wait, that makes no sense. Why is there two different things? How is it different? When you go to American Airlines,
because in the pursuit of diversity, you sacrifice excellence every time. We know this with Harvard. Right. We know this with Yale. So we know this with the military. Right. Every time, every example that we pursue diversity, an institution becomes less excellent. So it becomes subpar.
When you go on a plane, do you go to the pilot and ask for your credentials, or do you believe that the airline did the right thing and hired the right? So you ask for their credentials.
Actually, I'm starting to. Hold on. I start to doubt it. That was my statement. That was my statement. Right. My statement was if you're going to go from 4% of the pilots being black to 50% of the pilots to be black, it begs the question: you are going to lower the standards.
So my question is,
you're going to put a square peg through a round hole. You are going to force something that naturally is not happening, and you will all of a sudden be playing a very treacherous and dangerous game when you board a plane.
In which I agree with. My thing about it is, I'm not against it going from 4% black people pilots to 50% of black pilots. But the thing about it is, what have you done in your organization? Have you lowered the standards to allow more black people to become dominant in that career instead of what their merit is? And have they been trained thoroughly to be able to fly planes? Or is it just the fact of the matter, you want the representation of having more minority-based people in your company, but they don't really know what they're doing? It's a difference. And of course, what dickhead is going to go to a damn pilot and ask for their credentials when it comes to a flight? I'm not saying you can't do it. You can if you want to, but it's more so one of those look down upon rules. Like, you would trust that a pilot is knowing what they're doing. You're not going to just trust a pilot because, well, they're black, so it's representation. You're just like, yo, can you fly the plane or not? Like, are you thoroughly trained? I trust that you did. I trust that you already know what you're doing. And more times than not, you already have a co-pilot. So in case something goes wrong, that co-pilot can take over for the pilot. The fuck this nigga think this is about to be? Soul Plane?
Get heart surgery, or if I board a plane, I don't care about the color of the skin of the person doing it. I want excellence and I want meritocracy.
Yes. So, stop talking. Are you talking? So, let's get back to, because you're talking a lot.
Final point, then I'll get to the next question.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so going back to what you said, because like I said earlier ago, you said, and I forgot this is ISU, you basically said that that women are being hired to become pilots, right? Now, first, that's a lie. That's based on a program. Second, correct me if I'm wrong, becoming a pilot, is based on skill, correct? It's not based on height. It's not based on physicality. It's not based on nothing. It's based on skill, meaning
Not
that
always.
if you're being, so what is it based on?
Because based on a now public lawsuit with the Department of Transportation in 2016, 2017, air traffic controllers and pilot standards were lowered in pursuit of
Not
diversity
true. I
goals.
looked at that too.
Because of over
They
15.
added more
Let me
shit.
finish. Because of 15 whistleblowers that said the standard of air traffic controllers and pilots were being sacrificed in the pursuit of diversity,
lying
equity,
again.
and inclusion.
You're lying again.
Okay, I mean, people can do their own independent research, and they also.
I've done it, and you're lying. They
okay.
actually made it harder. They add more scenarios within the FAA.
Again, everybody
you
here
can Google
can
it. Google it right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Again, the documents bear out exactly. We now have.
Yeah, I'm looking at
We have air
Max,
traffic
Max.
controllers after air
Max.
traffic controllers have said, in the pursuit of making air traffic controlling more diverse, we have then lowered the quality of air traffic controlling.
So at the end of all this, what you basically told me is that if merit matters, it doesn't matter, because when we mentioned blind hiring, you said you're against that, which is based on merit.
No, time out. They said that they want to prioritize a group above what is meritocratic.
That didn't say that.
That's what United
If you
Airlines
want,
said. They said
I'm
half.
so confident.
They
Read
said
the
half.
executive order out loud
talking about United
right
Airlines. We're
now.
not-
And that's it for the video. I mean, my whole entire thing is this. If I find the brother's page, I'll tag it so you guys can view it. I've already seen this page before. And this is the problem with a lot of these so-called black men that's drenched in liberalism. They make themselves look stupid. And more so than not, the argument is about merit, DEI, whether it's necessary or unnecessary. My viewpoint on DEI at the end of the day is I'm about skill. I'm also about seeing more people that look like me in the company, but at the same time, I want to know that the person that I'm working with that looks like me knows what they're doing. You understand what I'm saying? If you're not qualified for the position, you're not qualified for the position. I don't give a damn if you black, white, Asian, or whatever. You know, in this country, we do still deal with certain things in different places in the world where they do discriminate against you because of race. I would never say that is not a thing that they do out there. But if it causes a company to lower their standards, to lower exactly the things that they're doing just because they want to have a representation of minorities it's not something I really agree with. It should be one of those sort of things that you work hard for what it is that you want to pursue as a career and be able to do it. And they should be able to hire you and not feel like race is a factor in order for that to happen. Watching this video, this brother does not know what he's talking about. He's highly emotional. He needs a tampon. And besides that, my whole entire thing is, again, why would I trust a dude to have a debate with when he already polished his nails black and he has a pink cell phone case? Fuck out of here. If you like what you heard, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you comment and all that other stuff. All right, man. Peace.